Welcome to the Brookdale Podcast, where our pastors, Will Baker and Thomas Overmiller, keep you connected to the heart of our church community, digging deeper into the Word, giving key church updates, and sharing pastoral insights and perspectives. Whether you're part of our Brookdale family or listening for the very first time, we're here to encourage and help you take your next steps in following Christ. Thanks for tuning in.
This is episode 1 of the Brookdale Podcast. Today we will be talking about pastoring on the internet. How do we go about doing that in a biblically faithful and effective way? So, Pastor Thomas, what does it mean to pastor on the internet?
Well, I was one of those guys when smartphones came out that was slow and reluctant to even use smartphones to text, through text messaging. But over time, I learned that there was some value to that in being able to use a smartphone well. And in the same way, I was also very reluctant and slow to use social media. I still am not a heavy user of many different platforms, but I've realized that there are a lot of people present on the internet, and like any other media or communication or social platform or place where there are people, cross sections of society and community, it's important to be present there. And while we can look at the downsides, the negative aspects of those things, we also need to be able to be present to benefit from the positive aspects of those things and to make a difference in the lives of the people who are there. And so I think it is important to be involved online. Different ways that I've done that in my years of pastoring are one, blogging. I had a blog called Shepherd Thoughts. Another friend now owns that site and uses it. He's another pastor, shepherdthoughts.com. I'll put a plug out there for that website. You can check it out. But I would put up a lot of typed resources for people, questions people would ask me from the Bible. I would put my answers on there. Also sermon notes, Sunday school notes. I would put all of that on the blog to provide quality biblical material for people to access around the world freely, as well as within my congregation to give them that access. Also, we do the same thing now at Brookdale, only I put that material on our church website, brookdale.church, and that creates a resource for people and provides quality biblical information on the internet where there's a lot of unquality information about the Bible. And then also I use Facebook and some other social media platforms to connect with people as well, because people are there. And so it's a way to connect with people and also to expose myself to people in a way that I think a pastor really should be doing so that people know who he is beside what they see on Sunday morning. I could say more, but I don't know what all else you want to talk about in that regard, Will.
Yeah, I think one of the primary things that comes to mind when we talk about interacting with others on the internet is social media. Most people, they don't have their own websites or blogs. In fact, most people don't use those anymore, even as a consumer. Mostly people are consuming, and if at all, producing anything on the internet on social media. Social media has a lot of baggage that comes with it, but I think there's a lot that could be redeemed on there because life is truly lived on the internet right now through social media. So what does that look like for you, Thomas, when you're interacting on Facebook or Twitter? How do you specifically envision your efforts translating into actual pastoral work, shepherding on those platforms?
Well, I think the benefit of social media is that it goes both ways. One, yes, I get to connect with other people, but they also get to connect with me. We do have to recognize that on social media, what you see is what people are choosing to let you see. A lot of times you are revealing a lot more about yourself than you think you are by how you use social media. I'll give you a good example of this. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning, and at some point in my morning, I'll look at my social media feed, and I'll realize that somebody posted something on Facebook recently, and I'll notice the time that they posted it at 2 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Well, as a pastor, I'll be honest, I log that in my mind, and I realize this person is up early in the morning or late at night, whichever way you look at that. And, you learn things about people's lives that way. I don't know that people are trying to say, hey, I am up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So my point there is that we often reveal more about ourselves on social media than we think we are. So we all need to be aware of that. At the same time, there's a lot of things we don't reveal about ourselves on Facebook or other social media platforms. We are pretty good about revealing the happy moments of our lives or the moments we want people to think we're happy. And so we do a lot of that. But the times that we're down or whatever, we don't always post those kind of things. So there's a limitation to social media. There's also things that we're revealing and we don't realize it. All of that being said, I think there's some value as a pastor in being involved on social media in different ways. One is it allows me to expose myself as a person to people. I'm able to let people know a little bit more about who I am and understand my life. As a pastor, I'm supposed to be an example. I'm supposed to be somebody that people can look at and understand my life. And some of the things that they can see and learn from don't always get the opportunity to be presented in a sermon or a lesson or a Bible study setting. So I can put pictures up of things that I do as a dad or as a man in my life, spiritual things, everyday things that help people to see what my life is like and what I'm doing. Some of that is a good form of accountability. I like to post on social media a lot of the things I'm reading in my daily Bible reading. That helps people to see often what days I'm reading the Bible and what days I maybe didn't get that done. And if you're paying attention, you notice that, and I know you notice that, and I want you to be able to notice that. That's trying to be transparent. So you realize, wow, my pastor reads his Bible a lot. My pastor doesn't read his Bible every day, right? That's being very transparent. Things like that, letting people know the kind of things I do as an ordinary person, the kind of music that I'm listening to day in and day out, to give you a feel of those kind of things that are going on in my life. I'm also seeing what I'm doing. Am I making house visits? Am I doing things at the Y? Am I doing things in the community? Am I studying a sermon? So all of those kind of things, you get to kind of see what's happening in my life. Some of the things that I do as a dad to help other people understand what it means to be a dad. Things like that. I try to put my life appropriately onto social media so that people can see my life and hopefully learn something about me and learn about being a dad, being a pastor. And it also helps me to understand other people. I get to see what their lives are like to some degree, what they're interested in, and just get to know them better. So those are some of the benefits. I think a biblical principle that I like to apply in this regard is what I call the principle of presence. So Psalm 23 is a story told to us in a poem form of a sheep and a shepherd. Of course, it's David talking about the Lord, how the Lord watches over him like a shepherd, and he is with him all the time. Jesus says to his disciples, I am with you all the time. A good shepherd lives with his sheep and spends a lot of time in personal contact with his sheep. As a pastor, I'm a shepherd, and I can't be with everybody all the time. The neat thing about social media, though, is it does allow me to kind of, quote unquote, be with more people in the church and in my life in different ways than I could be otherwise. So it makes me a little bit more present in people's lives. It's not everything it could be, and yes, it has its downsides, but there is a lot of value there.
For sure. There's a lot of value. It's one more important question to ask ourselves is, who are we trying to pastor through social media? because there are a lot of people out there who even have online churches. I mean, you'll have these churches that never actually even meet in person. They solely meet by live streaming or on YouTube, Facebook Live, whatever. And that is not, in our opinion, from what the scriptures say, that is not a church. A church is a gathered group of people who regularly worship God together in a physical location. And so what we're trying to do is to minister and shepherd the people that are actually in our church, in our congregation that gathers physically together. We're not trying to have some kind of other church that is only Brookdale Online. We're only using the platforms that we have available to us to do what God has called us to do, and that is to shepherd people, both, as Thomas said, by speaking the truth, by proclaiming the word in preaching, but then also by living an example. And that's what you can do on Facebook or Twitter, other platforms, and it's more than just what we could do in person. So it's a real blessing. You know, there are a lot of problems, potential obstacles that come with social media, but there are a lot of opportunities as well, and that's what we're leveraging: opportunities for the gospel. You know, it's one thing to have a church presence, as in, you know, the church has a Facebook account that you can follow, like, and we post things on the church's account. But it's another thing entirely, and this is what we're talking about, to just be on social media with the people in our church and to seek to be a blessing to them that way. Thomas, what would you say are the potential pitfalls or downfalls that we could have by being pastors on social media?
There's many. One, the potential downfall is thinking that what you're doing on social media can replace in-person ministry. I still have to make house visits, right? I still have to visit people at the hospital, and obviously still have to be involved in people's lives personally, physically. But social media is a way to kind of show some people that I'm doing that and when I'm and how I'm doing that, and often is an additional layer of some of those relationships that are already going on. But if all I do is hang out on social media, that's not ministry the way it needs to be done in person. And so it never replaces in-person ministry. Done well, it only enhances and gains more residual value out of in-person interactions and ministry. Another thing, obviously, is the waste of time. A lot has been said about that, but time can be wasted, and that needs to be guarded against. I think another thing that needs to be guarded against is what some people might call celebrity mindset. Right. There's a lot of different ways to think about this, but the goal of using social media as any person, not to mention a pastor, should never be to become popular or well-liked, or just to be simply counting how many likes and clicks and follows you get, all of that sort of thing. That's not the point. But that's ultimately a heart issue. Just because someone uses social media or posts a lot of different things about their life on social media doesn't mean that they're automatically seeking celebrity status or being self-centered, egotistical, wanting attention on themselves. It could be the case. That could be the case.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people on social media who are using it for those reasons. There are a lot of people on social media who did not set out to use it for those reasons, but who did subtly over time begin to use it for those reasons without thinking about it. But that doesn't mean that that's a necessary outcome. And so a pastor needs to always guard his heart, guard his mind, guard his actual real relationships with people, and make sure that he's being intentional, purposeful, God-glorifying in what he's seeking to do as a pastor on social media. But we have to be fair. That's true of anything done in public.
Yes.
You can preach a sermon in front of a church every single Sunday and do that for the praise of men, or you can do it for the praise of God. You can stand up and pray a prayer or sing a song or do any act of charity or good work in your community. You can do that for the glory of God and the love of others, or you can do that because you are seeking attention for yourself. There's nothing so unique about social media that demands that's the reason why anyone uses it. Like any other platform, it can be used for self-seeking purposes or as a service to other people. And as long as a pastor is keeping that service shepherding mindset, I think that can be overcome. And it's something that he always needs to be aware of.
For sure. I appreciate what you brought out at the end there, especially. But it is entirely possible to glorify God in all of those areas, whether it be on the platform during a church service, going and visiting someone at the hospital, or posting a picture on social media with a fun, cheeky caption that goes along with it. It's an opportunity, again, it's an opportunity to glorify God and to serve God's people.
I agree.
In a very important way. Do you have anything else to add, Thomas?
No, I guess I would just add that over the years, it's hard to remember them all, but thanks to social media, I've been able to maintain a lot of relationships over long distances, special, meaningful relationships I would not be able to maintain well otherwise. I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for new friends that I've made through social media, and new connections and contacts I've made, events I've found out about and been able to participate in because of social media that have enhanced my life as a pastor and as a person. And maybe you're listening today and somehow or another we've connected through social media, and or social media has helped you to get to know me better, vice versa, and it's made a difference. I'm just very thankful for you. I'm thankful for those opportunities. Like anything else, I want to steward social media use well for the kingdom of God. And in all those little ways that it's been a blessing, for those things, I'm very thankful. I thank God for it.
Amen. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you later. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Brookdale Podcast. If you would like to send us questions or feedback, you can use our contact page on our website, brookdale.church. That's BROOKDALE.church. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, let's take our next steps in following Christ.